Hey guys, some of you may know and some of you may not know that I am in fact working on a Mortal Kombat board game, an official Mortal Kombat board game. So obviously I try to stay as objective as possible and give you from a fan's perspective and from a critic's perspective. And those are definitely different. From a fan's perspective, go out and see this film. I want everything good for the Mortal Kombat franchise. I want much more Mortal Kombat. From a critic's perspective, you'll have to check out the review, okay? I'm going to tease. We're going to reveal the box art for our board games for the very first time for the core set and the boss set at the end of the video. And the board game will be coming soon sometime this year. So, yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I hope you enjoy the review. Check it out.
They didn't even use that.
All right, guys. Oh, this mask is hurting my face. I got to take it off immediately. Ooh, it smashes my nose. I don't know how Scorpion and Sub-Zero do it.
They probably have better ones.
Yeah, better masters than ours. Guys, it's here, finally. I never thought that we would get a new Mortal Kombat, but here we are today, and this is our review of it. But first, before we jump into the review, I want to thank our sponsors, Extra Wallets, the coolest wallets that you can get. Check it out.
If the clothes makes the man, what does that say about me? I live my life one costume at a time. So I let my accessories define my style, my phone, my watch, my wallet. Well, maybe not my wallet. Oh my god, gross. I need to stop keeping candy in here. I'm getting an extra. You should too. Go to extra.com/AngryJoe show for 25% off Smart Wallet. That's an even deeper discount than before. Upgrade your style with Extra.
Guys, if you love gadgets, grab one of these down below. It directly supports our show. Us and Extra are actually working together on this. So click those links and grab a wallet. All right, let us jump. I
told you.
Should have got one of these.
To go first.
I told
Okay,
I'll go
wait.
first
Okay, so this is a special case because I love Mortal Kombat.
As we all do, yes.
Love fighting games in general. Love the original film. Hate the Annihilation, which is one of the worst films of all time.
But I love it.
But you should see it because it's so bad. And you should also see Mortal Kombat 2021. And also, we are working on a Mortal Kombat board game.
Right
We just finished our Street Fighter board game, which should be fulfilling for the rest of the world very, very soon. Should be done by middle of May. And we have begun, obviously, for a while now, production on Mortal Kombat. So I love Mortal Kombat, all things Mortal Kombat. The universe is so important to me. It's my childhood, basically. Big fan. So I'm going to give you my fan side, then I'm going to give you my critic side because, you know, I'm AngryJoe. We keep it 100%, okay? We keep it 100% real no matter what, no matter the consequences. So hopefully WB isn't too mad at us. So let's just jump in here because I will, as a fan, let me say as a fan, I freaking love the fact that there's new Mortal Kombat, right? And this film has so many little nuggets inside it for fans, you know, like little moves from the video games, exactly the way they are in the video games. Freaking fucking fatalities, guys. The fights are great. The choreography is fantastic. Action is fantastic. You know, the look of some things is really good. Some other things, not so good. And so from that aspect, I'm excited there's more Mortal Kombat because I want people to see it and I want people to potentially get. Well, I want to see more, right? We had a great television series kind of thing on, you remember Machinima had something on YouTube, great stuff, and now this is translated to the big screen except for the pandemic, so then it went on HBO Max. So it's a great time to be a Mortal Kombat fan right now because there's a lot of it and a lot of good stuff for it. But after watching this, here comes my critic side. It's uneven.
You don't say.
It has, I'd say, a lot of problems, a lot of creative choices that I wouldn't have made myself, and that I think would not only bother some fans, but also bother what the director has said time and time again, that he's trying to bring a new audience to Mortal Kombat, and this is why he made some of the choices he made. I disagree completely.
Yeah,
I
'cause
think
feel
that
like
he
he's
made
gonna
some bad
alienate,
choices.
Like the other ones is like the hardcore ones like, no, this is not what I wanted.
Yeah.
And when I saw the trailer, I was like, this is gonna be a make or break for Cole. And
Yeah, we talked about this
I'm
right at the beginning. Remember, we're like, it's gonna the whole film is gonna kind of be make or break on Cole,
that's
right?
what it was.
Yeah. What was it, Joe?
That's what it was.
That's what it was for you. Shoot.
I did not like Cole. I didn't like Cole. Unfortunately, not just Cole, some of the other characters for me were very flat.
Yeah.
The star for me was Kano.
Yes. Kano was
Yeah.
the
He was
best.
the best.
The standout star of the show. And even the standout star of the show kind of gets lost a little later on. It's very, I'd say, messy, a little unfocused. But when it's hot, okay? But when it's not, oh, man, you're like, oh, no, please, no.
And I love these characters, but
Yeah.
I wasn't there.
Yeah, Louis Tan plays Cole Young, and I love Louis Tan. The things that he's been in, in Netflix you can watch. Great martial artist, fantastic voice in the community.
Huge gamer.
Gamer. We love him. I love you, man. But
He was just doing the role.
character, it's not his fault.
It's not.
Because the lines written for him, unfortunately, do not lend themselves well to a character that we like, and I think it was completely unnecessary to go about it in this way. Let me give you some banger lines from his character. It's let's see. He says his contribution is, no, it is not over. We still need to fight. We need to fight smarter. We need to control the fight. We need to split them up. These are individual lines. They are so vanilla, so standard. Yeah. Cole, the film is kind of supposed to be centered around Cole and be that audience surrogate, that vehicle for introducing us to the Mortal Kombat world. Unfortunately, the Cole Young character himself is about the most, I hate to say this, the boringest part and flattest part, and part that you're like, that's not right. So it doesn't really click. Right, and this is crazy because Mortal Kombat's character, but Joe, Mortal Kombat's characters are wild. They're stupid. They're all over the place, right? Yes, but it makes sense in the internal world, and Cole has his own set of abilities and powers here. And when I see them come to fruition, I'm like, no, I'm just not a fan, unfortunately, of the new character, and it's a damn shame because the Cole Young situation never needed to happen. Okay, already you pissed off a bunch of people by not having Johnny Cage in the film. There's no Johnny Cage. He is a fan favorite. The director should have known better. Honestly, you could have just said Cole Young was Johnny Cage. There's no reason why Louis Tan couldn't have been Johnny Cage, right? He could have been a Hollywood actor, and you still get the audience surrogate. Johnny Cage is that. He would have played perfectly.
That is exactly the formula from the first movie. That's how it worked. Johnny Cage in the very first
very
movie was like, what is
charismatic.
happening? What is going on? My agent sent me here. And Johnny Cage was holding our hands. We were Johnny Cage in the first movie. And here, they give us Cole, and they're like, you are Cole. Like, he doesn't know anything about this movie. And then they give him powers that are awful.
Yeah,
and
it doesn't help.
And then so you're like, oh, you get to be this guy that no one knows. It's like, okay, that's cool. At least, am I cool? Do I get to do cool stuff? No. No, you don't remember that boxing episode of The Simpsons where Homer's power is he can take punches? That's you. He's like, but I don't get to do any like punchy things? Nope. You take punishment.
Yeah, his trainer even calls him the punching bag.
Yeah,
so.
it's just like, oh, cool. This is great. I love this.
Yeah. Okay, so let's do a non-spoilers first,
Little
and then we'll
summary,
break it
yeah,
up
go
to a
ahead.
spoilers. So our main problem with the film has to be that, unfortunately, our audience vehicle, our surrogate character, is the
Young.
least interesting of them. I love Sonya Blade. I love how she's strong. She's a damn good fighter. She's driven. Just kick-ass. Looks like Sonya Blade. Looks really beautiful, but yet has a fierceness to her.
Dangerous.
I love Jax. Jax, just his mannerisms, his military experience. I think they did a good job at casting him. And then the fights are brutal as hell. These are things that this film gets right and should be praised for. When Jax first fights Sub-Zero, like, that's what would happen if you're going to fight a Mortal Kombat character. Even if you did 6 tours in Iraq and you're an expert close combat fighter, you're going against Sub-Zero and shit is going to go down. And I won't spoil it. We'll talk about that in the spoilers, but it is fucking awesome. And so for me, the first act of this film was working.
Yep.
Like, I was like, all right, well, we're going to get more, Cole Young later, and he's going to come into his own, and it's really going to work, and then we're kind of exploring this. And I said, you know what? There's no tournament here, which is very odd to do a Mortal Kombat film with no tournament, but I loved it.
Oh,
You hated it, I loved it. Let me explain why I loved it. Because I love the Mortal Kombat lore, and I love the stories that NetherRealm has created, and it really felt like an early beginning of Special Forces. Yes, Special Forces was one of the worst games in the Mortal Kombat series, but also it was one of the best when NetherRealms took it over, and that's like, how EarthRealm is head up by Johnny Cage and Sonya and Jax in this kind of Earth Force with technology and government and stuff like that. So I felt like it was the early part of that, and then, Shang Tsung's doing his thing. I don't care about this and that and breaking rules. Yeah, all that fits. It's perfectly set up. Unfortunately, it just gets way out of focus. It
Gets
can't
lost.
tell. It gets lost. It can't tell where it wants to focus, whether it's the battle between Scorpion and Sub-Zero, the Liu Kang, the fact that Liu Kang is basically sidelined the whole film, the training, finding your arcana is what they call it here. So they create whole new Mortal Kombat lore to help explain things for audiences, which... It's fine. This whole idea of Arcana is fine. It's just different, and
It is.
and I'm not sure. I
didn't
like
mind
it,
it.
but it does make sense. Right? I
didn't
don't
mind-
mind
I
that
don't
part
mind
of
it,
it. You mind other fundamental flaws with the film in the third act.
Now, my biggest issue with the film is I agree with you to a point that if I define the first act as maybe the first 20 minutes, maybe 15 minutes of this movie, I think it was working pretty well. The issue is the second act feels like an hour and a half long. The third act feels 5 minutes long. And the second act is bad.
Yeah.
And it is bad for a lot of reasons. It just stretches out for so long, and then we're like, okay, well, maybe we're building up to something cool, and then the movie starts happening, and it ends, and it's like, why did we spend only 5 minutes on the Mortal Kombat part of the Mortal Kombat movie?
At one point,
And it makes you realize that it sorely needed the tournament.
yeah,
it
at one
definitely-
point
They
I
had
saw-
to do a mini tournament
They should-
to satisfy, because that's what this was. This was a mini tournament of their own creation instead of doing a real tournament.
Yeah.
And that's when it was firing on all cylinders.
We need, in my opinion, when you have Mortal Kombat, there's this really deep set lore where the realms are fighting each other, and you can't invade them. You can't do anything until you win 10 straight tournaments, and then if you do that, you can move in. You can do whatever you want. This movie showed that you can do whatever the hell you want at all times. Doesn't matter. This movie didn't need to happen. Shang Tsung could have had an army and marched on, and no one had done anything. And he even said it himself.
Yeah.
He specifically said, "There's not a single person who's going to stop me." Period.
The internal lore and logic of the film is a little screwy. And when that's screwy, it breaks your suspension of disbelief, and you need a massive suspension of disbelief for Mortal Kombat.
Man's throwing ice.
Right, and thank God Kano was in there, because when you have a character so funny, so pointing out how everything
Yeah.
is so ridiculous, it makes it endearing, and you love it, and you accept it. The problem is we needed that character to be Cole Young. not Kano. And what they do with Kano towards the end of the film, it's like, well, fuck.
He
Like,
disappears.
now you just ruined the whole thing that we liked about the film, kind of thing, you know. So I'll get to that in spoilers.
Yeah.
But go ahead. What else?
Well, the thing with me is like the first act, like all of us liked the first act, and then I noticed whenever you were checking the time at 1 hour and like 10 minutes.
Yeah, it was 1 hour and 10 minutes. You know what I was doing there?
It finally started
Falling
going. I
asleep.
was like, oh, like. There's not that
Yeah.
much time left for the movie, but it started getting good again.
Yes.
But you had that in
Twofold.
between.
It
I
was
like,
twofold
ah,
while
this-
I was looking. The action started again, and I was like, "What? Well, I need to know when this happened."
Yeah.
And
It was
then
1 hour and
the
10.
music, Joe. The music in this film is absolutely terrible. It is generic. It's not super fucking bad. It's just barely there. You got your drums. You
It's
got
like
your
a
standard
YouTube audio
movie.
library.
It's
How
your
dare
standard
you.
movie stuff. And the first time you get any energy from the music that feels like a Mortal Kombat song was at 10:10. That's when I did 1 hour
1 hour
and
and
10
10.
minutes.
But it lasts for
And
10 seconds.
Yes, and I wrote that down here. It goes, but then it lasts for 10 seconds, and then it goes back to the stupid orchestral bullshit that
Yeah.
doesn't really fit.
They were going to get DMCA claimed.
You could tell the director half understands and half doesn't. And I know he half understands because I've read tons of interviews where he is in touch, and I don't know if it's studio interference. I don't know
It's
if it's
gotta be.
whatever that you know. But anyways,
Why
and
ruin the
they do
perfect
use.
song?
Let's say they do use the song. You got to give him credit for using the Mortal Kombat song.
A little bit.
And that is 10 minutes after the first little 4 seconds. And then, you know, during the, a big climactic battle between Scorpion and Sub-Zero, they seem to, think that here's your money shot. Here's the what you've been waiting for. But honestly, I'm such a Mortal Kombat fan that it's like, that's just one of the things I'm waiting for. It is not the whole crux of the film.
Yeah, well, the issue was...
And that's what the crux of this film is.
They set it up that way, but the issue is they're trying to force Cole on us. And I did not hate Cole the way I thought I was going to, because I was like, man, I don't
Yeah.
care about this character, and I thought I was going to hate him. I didn't hate the
Yeah, I
character.
didn't hate him.
I didn't hate him. I didn't like that they didn't give him lines. I didn't like how he developed as a character powers-wise. But what really bothered
His
me
powers are stupid.
is that the final fight, he's kind of standing around. It's like, you made me like Cole Young. You made me sit with him for an hour and 30 minutes, and you're like, you're Cole Young. Oh, so I get to be in the final fight?
You're on the team.
Not
Cool.
really, because we're gonna bring this something else back, and then you don't get to kind of be in the final.
You're sidelined, yeah. So God damn it, man. They just need to give this to NetherRealms and let them do a goddamn move. Put them in charge of it. Don't sideline Ed Boon and the NetherRealms team. Put them in fucking creative charge. Because you take the talent, the visuals, the money that they had for this other crew and team, and I'm not taking anything away from them. I'm just saying it would ring more true, and it would function better or work better, or maybe just even use them as creative, directors or whatever. And giving them tips, because it feels exactly what it is. Licensed, a studio wanted to use the Mortal Kombat thing. They wanted to please the fans, but at the same time, they wanted to make their own thing and put their own stamp on it and create new characters. And all of that stuff that they injected into formula does not need to be there, and it doesn't work. And if it was removed, it would be better.
Mm-hmm. It feels like what they were trying to do is sort of appease the actual fans of Mortal Kombat while bringing new people into Mortal Kombat. Now, when you try to please everyone, what you've done is you please
Yep.
nobody.
Exactly.
Because I can't see a single person who just wants to watch an action movie enjoying this movie, because it's not particularly...
Right.
It's not very well made.
And can you see a single person? My favorite character is Cole Young. No. That would never, ever, ever happen.
1 in a million.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah.
And
people
so
that are
then what's going to happen is
contrarians.
the fans, like the real fan, look, and I do a ton of research on Mortal Kombat. I love Mortal Kombat. And everything about what they did with the lore, and they're like, the tournament doesn't matter, and none of these characters, and we're just going to make this a weird, like, oh my God, I'm so disappointed.
So the character choices that they make here as well, they choose some characters from the lore, and they do some of them well and some of them not so well. Cabal has a speaking role. Maybe he shouldn't have had a speaking role. who is really bad.
He has
it worked for
way
Kano,
too
but
many
it
lines.
didn't work for Cabal, and he has way too many lines.
Uh-huh.
And then characters like, there's some characters in here. I don't know if I should put this in the spoilers. Somebody has wings and doesn't say a damn thing and is just there for window dressing, stuff like that. So, and while they get it, it looks good too. I'll say that. The effects look great. The practical effects look good. The CGI looks good. The world looks good. But then, out of nowhere, there's a fucking cheap prop in the background of, like, their headquarters that looks like goddamn Lord Zordon or something, Power Rangers.
Bad.
It's really bad. And they must have borrowed it from the Annihilation set. Because it's the Mortal Kombat
That wasn't
Annihilation
even on
set.
it, right? I
They had
remember
that.
everything.
Maybe that's an Easter egg. We have to go and look because it looks like it's from that lab when they're fighting Cyrax and shit. Jackson's fighting Cyrax.
Yeah.
But that's what it looks. It's so cheap and out of place, and you're
It
like,
is.
"What the fuck is that?" And then a few times the camera focuses on it or keeps it in the background, like they're proud of this prop. And it's kind of stuff like that periodically that will take
Somebody's
you out.
nephew made it, and they're like, "All right, we'll put it up on the movie." All right.
But they do, their best to honor the source material, test your might, fatalities, flawless victories, fucking punching through people's fucking, bodies, ripping their hearts out.
The gore is
Just
amazing.
fantastic, and they got that part right,
Yes.
which makes me so much more goddamn frustrated because it's like if you took a few more tips, or if you maybe you involved more of Nether Realms, this could be a goddamn 10 out of 10. It really could.
What'd you think of the bad guy with a hammer? I'm not gonna get it. Like he looked like
Reiko is an actual character from Mortal Kombat.
I
He's
know.
basically like
I didn't want to spoil his name.
I know. Well, I'm gonna fucking
But he was-
say
he was a
it's
cartoon
Shao
bad
Kahn
guy.
light, and you're right.
He looked
was
terrible.
terrible, but he's not that good in Mortal Kombat lore. Or he's like that in lore anyway. So I'm like, whatever.
He looked like a cartoon
You're
character
right.
in this movie,
You're
and they
right.
did a
I
really
was-
good job with a lot of the character design. Like
I was
people-
seriously disappointed. I thought that actor was playing Shao Kahn because he could have.
Yeah.
I mean, he literally could have been Shao Kahn, but
There's only one
they were
Shao
like,
Kahn.
fake
Like,
out
yeah.
Reiko, get it?
Get the dude
That's
from
meta.
Annihilation.
That's meta as hell because Reiko is fake out Shao Kahn anyway. Anyways, so let's just save that for the spoiler. Spoiler section is going to be huge.
Oh, yeah.
So let's go ahead and talk a little bit more about the film, what they got right. I do like how they kind of did. A lot of people forget Sub-Zero's Chinese ninja warrior. With your heart so cold. Okay, I'm clearly I'm a nerd. If anybody knows what that song is, then you're a true fan. And so they play that up. The Japanese and the Chinese. Various languages and clans. But here's the problem: they're constantly mentioning their clans, right? The Lin Kuei and the Shirai Yu. I pronounce stuff terrible, but. It has no meaning. Constantly throughout the film, for the Lin Kuei, for the it's.
He speaks Chinese the entire time, and then he speaks a little Japanese, and then for no reason in the year 1400 Japan, he starts speaking English.
Okay, there's that too. But what I'm saying is, there's moments in the film where like the music.
I don't
want to
brush over that. It's terrible. If you're gonna go through
It's not that big a deal.
he speaks English
Okay.
in 1400 Japan. After specifically speaking Chinese and Japanese, and even the other characters are like, "Oh, I don't know what you're saying," and then he's like, "I'm gonna speak English now."
Okay, good point.
It's terrible.
It's a good point.
No one cares.
I'll
Pet
give it to
peeve.
you. I'll give it to you. That's his beef. Well, my beef is in an emotional part when God darn it, I have to save that for spoilers. They're talking about things that the audience has no reference unless they're fans of the Mortal Kombat, and it's like, well, wait, is this for new audiences who aren't familiar with Mortal Kombat, or for audiences that are familiar with Mortal Kombat? And that's what the original Mortal Kombat did so well, is that while it may have been a little less faithful to the source material while still, in line, it was easier for people to understand and get into. It's a tournament. There's shit at stake here, and there's crazy, ridiculous stuff, and Johnny Cage is our surrogate. Perfectly done. Unfortunately, this new one, I think, gets confused, and they try to please everybody, and end up pleasing no one. More in the middle because you like aspects of it, but aspects of it frustrate you so much because it's like if you had just made a different decision here, then it would have been fine. So let's go to final verdict so we can
Yeah,
let loose in the
let's.
spoilers.
I'll go first.
Whoo!
This is gonna be tough. For me, this is just like an average film. I'm gonna have to go with a 5.
Poof. Okay, average. And realize on our scale, 5 is average, 10 is legendary. You got to compare all video game movies to that, and
This
one
isn't
is
grade school. Five
complete
is
garbage.
complete average.
5 is average for me. First act was great. The in between part is what got me. The pacing was way off. Didn't really know what it wanted to do. It sidelined some great characters. Liu Kang, one of my faves. Sidelined him. Raiden really didn't do much here.
Yeah.
Kind of sucked. And everyone fell flat to me. Like, great casting choice. They look great. But they were just
The plot
much.
line was like it was a made-for-TV movie, but yet it had the budget and looks of a legit badass blockbuster.
Yeah, and like the thing I didn't like was the tension that was supposed to be with Cole.
Wasn't
And
there?
no, I was like, I don't care.
I mean,
really
we
don't
could
care.
literally remove Cole from all this film,
Yeah,
all the
it's
scenes
like,
with
oh,
Cole, and it could
Cole-
still kind of work.
Yeah, he's got to do something. It's like I don't care. I don't.
And that was what we talked about before we
and
even
that's
got to
a
this
large,
review.
large part of this movie
Yeah,
too.
you could have got a whole 2 points from that, right? You know,
and
and get it up to
then
7.
the climax was a great fight scene, but like nothing really pumped me up with the music.
The music wasn't there till
And that's
the
what
end,
I love
like for a little
about
bit.
the first one. I was like, the
Even
music.
even Mortal Kombat Annihilation got some of its music right during fights, right? And that film is a
Yeah.
travesty.
So I just.
Okay,
I'm sorry, 5.
and a hurtful.
It is because I was really looking forward to this.
This movie hurt my feelings.
I love our integrity here, Joe. We tell it like it is, and I'm proud of it.
Kano's amazing
Proud of
though.
it.
Again,
Yeah.
Kano.
Without Kano, this movie loses
be
2
even
points.
worse,
Oh
yeah.
man, because I don't think the first act would have been enjoyable. I kind of like the setup of this movie. They did some things pretty well. They kind of introduced things. The middle of this movie, it doesn't know what it's doing. It's lost. I don't know who the middle of this movie is for, because it's not for people who like movies. If you have eyes, you're not going to like the second act of this movie. It's
If
bad.
you're a fan of Mortal Kombat, you're not
gonna
gonna
like this
the
movie.
second
So it's like,
act
what
of
is the
movie.
point of the entire second act? And the second act dominates as far as runtime goes. So if I don't
Yeah.
like the majority of your movie,
Exactly.
and I am a huge Mortal Kombat fan. I watch so many hours of footage for a
Yes.
project that we are working on.
Yeah.
Wink,
I
wink.
love Mortal Kombat. And then when it finally gets going, it is over in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
It's like a bottle rocket. It's just like it goes and then it's over. Holy shit! What was the middle of this movie for? There should have been fights all the way through. That was the pacing was really bad.
It was to set up a Mortal Kombat that is different from the games, different from the animated things, different from everything. Its own thing. Unfortunately, that own thing is inferior to what was already set up.
Yeah, and so a lot of the time, I like to imagine when directors go up to a movie studio and go like, I want to do Godzilla, but instead of focusing on the monsters, I want to focus on the human experience within Godzilla. And that's what I imagine happened
Yeah.
here. I want to do Mortal Kombat, but instead of focusing on the
I want
parts
to
that we
focus on family.
the things that we know work
But
and the tournament and
But
the
that's
lore.
good. That sounds great. We'll sign off
And they're
on
like,
it.
oh, yeah, great,
And
that
then
sounds-
wait a minute. Whose family again?
Yeah, what is this for?
Cole. Who?
Oh.
Oh.
I wanted to use this guy.
But we'll also do Sub-Zero and Hanzo. Oh, okay.
Okay,
Maybe
you
yeah,
got to
okay.
have those
That'll
guys
work.
in there.
That'll
We
work.
can sell toys for that. So this reeks
Or
of
board games.
someone not understanding or respecting the source material. I don't know if it's a studio, because I don't want to put it on the director, because we don't know. It could have been the studio go, no, less tournament. We want something different.
Yeah.
And so somebody who is making the decisions royally fucked up. And I want to give this a below average movie because it kind of hurt my feelings because I love this so much. But I think ultimately, this is an average movie. I think that there are parts that I liked. There are parts that I really don't like, but I don't ever want to watch this again. And I don't want a sequel.
Ooh, damn! You
So-
went hard, boy. I didn't think you'd go that
Oh,
hard.
one
I
more
gotta
thing-
censor.
well-
If everything he said was muted, WB, don't worry, I got your back.
One more thing I
No,
want to
we gotta
add
tell
too.
it. We
Like
gotta tell it like it is.
at the very end, like we finally have our team and everything. It just rang hollow to me. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, okay.
It was
Oh, we
over in
have our
5
team.
minutes. What did it matter?
Okay, well, here's the other problem is that, well,
But it's like, I
I
don't
agree with you
really
most
care.
part, but I would watch it again, but I would do a lot of fast forwarding, you know.
So you wouldn't watch it in its entirety. You would not watch the movie again. You would watch the highlight reel, which is
Yes.
Yeah. So, anyways, a lot of there's another choice made in this. There are character deaths, okay, and it makes sense because look, it's Mortal Kombat. I'm always the one complaining, like, wait, he just took what, and he's still alive, you know, because X-rays are a thing and all these things. People would be fucking dead, right? Well, they're like, okay, Joe, people fucking die when they take the hit, like you want, right? And I'm like, oh, so he's dead, like.
just like that.
Like gone forever, like you just fucking
you
destroyed
sure?
one of the characters that I like. He's dead permanently, not coming back. You know what I mean?
There was no build up to that death, so it didn't matter.
Right. Or well, some of the fights had a little bit of build up, but it's like, God darn it, you know, like I don't know if I want them to die. Some of them
too
will
quick.
have
Everything's too quick
outs.
at the end.
Some of them I don't think will have outs. Anyways, so be prepared for that. If you're a fan of certain characters and you see them die, you'll probably be pissed. But nobody gives a shit about Reiko or the other one that we'll tell you in spoilers. So anyways, final verdict was what?
5.
Really? Okay. You wanted to do below average, but you stayed at average because they got half of the things right.
They got about half of the things right. I do think that the fight scenes were really, really well choreographed. I think that parts of the movie did look really, really good.
Yeah.
The issue is that whole second act didn't work, and they didn't do anything. And music is so important to movies,
It
and I think they
is.
really, really dropped the ball here.
Yeah.
And they didn't have to do anything
Right.
because it's already written
Yeah,
for you.
and they started using a
morons.
little bit of it.
Goddamn imbecile!
ruin
Just
it.
use
And then
the
they ruin
song.
it.
Pay the money for the goddamn song, and then you'll have all like.
And not just
like,
during the
yeah!
fucking end
Oh,
credits.
Jenna will be doing
Cheers,
karate.
yeah.
In the,
I
like,
shouldn't be
downstairs.
excited at the end of the film and not excited at all during the film,
yeah.
right? Because they got it during the credits. Anyways, yeah, I agree. So I am going to give it. I am between a 5 and a 6, and
This or
because
Annihilation.
I'd watch
this,
Annihilation
but here's the thing. That's so interesting because Annihilation is that bad,
Bad.
where we can laugh and drink and have fun and just
Exactly.
laugh. And this one is just that middle of the road, right? When I do angry reviews, it kind of sucks doing one that's like this because it's hard to go either way because it does have good elements, it has bad elements, it's boring in the middle and stuff. You know, the
large
first film,
chunk.
I'll say this: the original Mortal Kombat film is better than this film. I enjoy it, and that's not just nostalgia. Because when I first watched the original Mortal
It's
Kombat, I was like,
cheesy
"Oh,
great."
damn it!" You know, I wish it was better, but I enjoyed it, and I can't wait for the sequel. And then over time, that film got even better, and it's like, no, this is the best video game movie so far for a long, long time. Mortal Kombat was my favorite video
That's
game movie.
great.
Then the sequel came out, and it was complete garbage. We're talking like a 2 out of 10.
How
We're
dare you?
talking
That
like-
movie's at least a 2.5.
no, it is a 2 out of 10, even on Joe's bad movie scale. But you want to be a 2 out of 10 on Joe's bad movie scale, right?
I rewatched it.
And so I think it's in between that, and like I would rate the original Mortal Kombat an 8 out of 10, right? And that's high and being generous because I'm very nostalgic for it. This film, it's a 5 or a 6. It's doing its own thing, but I think that's the problem. That why, you know. You just work closer with Ed. You work closer with NetherRealm. You look at all the stuff that's there already. And if you want to do your own thing, you run the risk of fucking it up, right? And I think they underperformed in the stuff that they created themselves. Throw the rules out of the window for the tournament. And, okay, then this should be even fucking crazier than what it is, right? It doesn't devolve into a mini tournament at the end, right? Which, if you're going to do the tournament, then do the tournament anyway. You know, because you can't afford the invasion yet, but you can afford like a mini tournament for the tournament that has no rules, whatever. And then, you know, so I'm going to go 5 out of 10. I'm going to do average.
If you want to do your own thing, don't license someone else's thing. That should be the rule. You want to do your own thing.
Oh, right. Okay.
If you're the director
if
and
you
you're
want
like,
to do your own
you're
thing,
like, I want to do my
you
own thing.
license
It's like,
thing.
well, license Ed Boon's
Right.
shit because what he built is cool.
is-
and what
there's a
you
reason
built
why.
is not.
There's a reason why people like the original Mortal Kombat. So when you stay true to it. Now, the director's given several reasons why. Well, I wanted to save Johnny Cage for his own film, or I needed a vehicle for the audience. We just disproved all of, you know, you could have used that, and he could have had his own film. It could have just been Louis Tan is Johnny Cage. period, fixed. That already would have made better. And then his mannerisms, his situation, you could have even given Johnny
character
Cage
way
family.
better.
You could have given Johnny Cage family as well, and it would have worked way better just alone, that alone. Anyways, but then the rest of it has some pacing problems. So let's just jump into spoilers. So that is our review. Mortal Kombat, I do wish you to see it. I do hope that maybe, well, that is a very dangerous thing to hope, we get a sequel.
How dare you? After Mortal Kombat and Mortal Kombat Annihilation,
Yeah,
after
yeah.
this would be a
To
zero.
wish for a sequel, right? Right, I see what you're saying. If we're talking law of averages or whatever, if the no, maybe it would break the curse and the sequel would go crazy.
They're magically going to figure out how to make movies.
No, because they take all of our feedback. They watch this.
yeah,
They watch everybody
okay.
else's review.
Uh-huh.
And they take the feedback and make a badass fucking sequel. But you know what? If you do make a sequel and it's an Annihilation, I like it too. I will like it too. Because we can drink and have fun with it. Anyways, if you're a fan of Mortal Kombat, I think you're going to be satisfied in some areas and pissed in others. It's very mixed. You'll have, mixed feelings. So 5 out of 10 average. Stick with us if you want to discuss spoilers. So this is going to be a longer video. Maybe I'll have to break it up into 2. But I want to thank Extra Wallets for partnering up with us. Really fucking cool gadget. If you love gadgets, if you like not wanting to carry this big bulky thing,
Don't hurt your back.
grab a wallet. It helps us out. It helps yourself out. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the spoiler section, guys.
It's gonna be big.
It's gonna be nitty gritty. Here we go.